the meeting. The clerk.
Private Members Business Notice number 4, motion on Australia Post.
The member for Ballarat.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker, and I move the motion on Australia Post that appears in the notice paper on my name. And I particularly want to highlight what's actually happening within Australia Post, particularly in Victoria and New South Wales at the moment, and some of the impact that that's actually having on regional communities such as the one that I represent in the federal seat of Ballarat. There's been plans announced by Australia Post internally that they are planning to cut next-day delivery service for regional centres, and that is leading to delays in the critical delivery of post within my own electorate, but reports are coming in from other areas that that is the case as well. In a number of instances that we're having reported in some of the smaller towns across my district, it is taking up to 6 to 7 days for them to receive their mail. That is not the service that they have been used to. This is of deep concern to those of us who live in regional Australia, with Australia Post's decisions impacting directly on the services within my community. Australians shouldn't be treated differently because they live in outside of metropolitan areas, in regional centres, nor should they be treated differently where they live outside in more isolated communities, particularly in some of our more dispersed states. But I fear that what we're seeing, unfortunately, from Australia Post is just the tip of the iceberg for our communities. There is no more important obligation for a national mail service than to ensure it supports and properly services those people in the more isolated and geographically disadvantaged regions of our nation. Regional residents should not lose a national service that the rest of Australia does receive. There are many residents who are reporting, as I said, that they are waiting up to 6 days for their mail. The Communication Workers Union has written to me about their experiences as well in terms of what's actually happening with staff within regional distribution centres. In essence, the decision by Australia Post to, in essence, close almost, but certainly see a substantial reduction in staff at the regional distribution centre in Ballarat and have mail shipped instead of sorted in Ballarat to be done in Dandenong, several kilometres away, and then shipped back to Ballarat, and including mail that needs to go to Melbourne, not to be sorted within Ballarat, is actually causing significant delays. That's affecting residents in Morwell and Bendigo and Seymour, as well as in Geelong, and in towns in New South Wales the impact's being felt in Tamworth, Bathurst, Wagga Wagga and Albury, and they're certainly being affected by the change and move away from next day delivery. I've received emails from our local U3A who for 30 years have been relying on the Australia Post service, concerned about what's actually happened to their mail service, and each of their individuals who are involved in U3A, mail not getting through, invitations to events arriving after the event has occurred, and unfortunately in my own office that's exactly the experience that I'm having, and in the 12 years since I've been the member that has not been the case. Australia Post has always delivered excellent service. The latest was an invitation to a good friend's birthday party who's a member of the Australian Labor Party who's incredibly unwell. That invitation was received in my office 2 days after the event was actually occurred, despite it being posted 7 days previously. There's certainly also, we've had representations from constituents who have a particular arrangement with their pharmacist and their prescribing doctor to receive their prescriptions by mail, and again that was received some 7 days, that was franked at the time and stamped at the time that it was dispatched from the GP surgery and was received. A very short, only literally a kilometre away, was received 7 days later. So I think that what's happening in Australia Post at the moment, I understand the cost pressures that they are under. I also understand the growth in parcel delivery and what's actually happening in that side of the business. But the core business of Australia Post is to deliver mail. There are many older people who do not use the internet, who do not use email, and who do rely on a mail service. The fact that Australia Post at the moment in many of our regions thinks that it can deliver a service by slowly closing regional distribution centres, by walking away from next day delivery, really is incredibly concerning. They need to actually look at what their delivery mechanisms are, why they are not able to meet the next day delivery standards within regional communities, and I certainly hope that the Minister for Communications, who I know does deeply care about the delivery in regional communities, I hope very much that he does, that he actually has a good look at what's actually happening in Australia Post at the moment, and I certainly call on him to reverse what's occurred in the regional communities, certainly in Ballarat, and I know the member for Bendigo will be speaking on a similar matter.
Thank the member for Ballarat. Is the motion